All right, so today we are on day 2 of 3. Obviously, that's what it says.
Hi.
Hey, Sam.
My bad.
So on Tuesday we talked about geometric sequences, and we were given the formula for geometric sequence. Remember when we were talking about geometric sequence, the formula that we used was a of n is equal to a of 1 times the ratio to the n minus 1. That's a sequence. Okay, so the sequence is just your given terms. 3, 9, 27, so on and so forth. Okay, get to each of them multiplying. Today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about geometric series. And what's the difference between a sequence and a series? A sequence is just a thing of numbers. A series is the sum of the terms of a geometric sequence. So everything we're going to talk about today deals with finding the sum of the series. Gentlemen, close your computers. You don't need them on right now because I know what you're doing. It's the same thing I want to be doing. But we're not going to be doing that until we're done. Okay? So we're going to find the sum of sequences today by finding the geometric series. Now, geometric series is represented by S of n. Okay, that means you are going to find the sum of the terms of the sequence. So if we have a sequence that's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, if that's our sequence, and comma, dot, 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 dot. If I want to find the S of 4, that means that I want to find the sum of the first 4 terms in that sequence. So really all this is going to be is 1 plus 4. I probably should put a plus 2 in there. I should erase. 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. So the sum of the first 4 terms in that sequence, 15, is 15. And obviously, if it's the sum is a smaller piece, you're going to find the sum of the first 4 terms or the sum of the first 6 terms. Generally speaking, it's not that hard. You can just, if they're given to you, find them. But if you're asked to find the sum of the first 13 terms in this, certainly isn't something that, again, you could find the next few terms in this and do it. But it's much easier to use a formula, and that's what we're going to do. So here's the formula for a geometric series. S of n, the sum of the nth term of the n terms of this sequence, is equal to your first term, a of 1, first term, times 1 minus your ratio to the n, the number of terms that you're trying to find the sum of, all divided by 1 minus r. And obviously r can't be 1, because if r was 1, then you'd be dividing by 0, which you can't do. Okay, so you're going to find the sum of the terms within that sequence using this formula. So I said the 13th term up there. So if we're going to find the sum of the first 13 terms of the sequence that I had above, we know the A1 value. It's given to us. It's not always going to be given to you. Sometimes you'll have to find it. But we know that A of 1 is 1. We got to go 1 minus our ratio. Well, what's the ratio? How do I get from 1 to the next? Multiplying by U2. Multiply by what? 2. So my ratio is 2. My n value is 13. And all of that's going to be divided by 1 minus 2. So you get out your calculators, and calculators are very much going to be needed today. So I've got 1. I've got 1, then parentheses, 1 minus my ratio is 2. Raise that to the 13th, because that's the one we're going to find. Oops. Delete. I have the tendency to take this number. You should have got negative 8,191. And then this is going to be divided by negative 1. So 8,191 is the sum of the first 13 terms in that sequence. Okay? And that's the formula that we're going to use. And if you're given the first term, you're given your n value, you can find the ratio. It really does, in a sense of the imagination, become plug and play, because that's all you need to do. Problem becomes when you're not given some of those things and you have to find them. That's when these get a little bit more difficult. Before that happens, however, let's do one where we're given everything that we need and we just have to do the plug and play, plus there's the answer that we're going to get. And just make sure that we can do the calculator pushes. So what we need in order to find the sum, we're at our n is 6. We know that. So that means we need to find the sum of the first 6 terms in this sequence. We need to know the first term. We know that it's 4. And then it's 1 minus our ratio. We got to get from 4 to 24. It's times 6. So it's 1 minus 6 to the 6th power, all divided by 1 minus 6. Break out your calculators. 4 times 1 minus 6 raised to the 6th. Delete. Divide that by negative 5. And you should get that answer. Make sure you can do the calculator punches to get that. It doesn't hurt to write this top number down sometimes and then just take that divided by negative 5. The bottom number you can do all the time. That's negative 186,620. Just make sure you get the right answer with your calculator pushes. Grab the one that don't work or the one with the scratch screen. Easy enough if those things are given to you. All right, now let's take that away. All right, now we know the A of 1. We're given A of n, and we're given the ratio of negative 6. So what don't we have? What don't we know? I need to know the ratio, I need to know the n value, and I need to know the first term. Which one don't you know? We don't know the n value. So we have to calculate the n value. I don't know what S of n is, so I can't say S of n equals. I have A of n, though. Okay, so what we talked about on Tuesday was we talked about this. A of n is equal to A of 1 times R, and then n minus 1. I know the A of n value. I know the A of 1 value. I know the ratio. Then I should be able to find that n value out then as well. So you got to go back to what we learned the other day in order to do this problem. So we're going to start with that. So we're going to use the formula A of n is equal to A of 1 times our ratio to the n minus 1. And I know I have to do that because that's what I'm given. So now we just kind of plug and play. 279,936 is equal to negative 1 times my ratio, which is negative 6 to the n minus 1. Okay. Divide by negative 1, but then I'm also going to divide by another negative, right? So if I divide this by negative 1, that gives me negative 279,936 is equal to negative 6 times, I'm sorry, negative 6 to the n minus 1. So I've got something that's an exponential form. I've got another negative sitting there. Anytime you have something that's an exponential form, you want it to be positive. So we're just going to have 6 to the n minus 1 equals 279,936. I just flipped it around because that's the way you're used to writing it. How do we solve that? Write it as a... There's no e's in there. Write it as a logarithm. So this is log base. What's my base? 6. So those of you that were gone last week and didn't take the test, there's review. This is log base 6 of 279,936. That's going to equal n minus 1. So taking it from exponential form to logarithmic form. Now, log base 6 of 279,936, we can use the change of base formula. Change of base formula says on your calculator, you take 279,936, the log of that, and divide that by the log of 6. That's then going to equal n minus 1. Now in your calculators, hit log of 279,936 divided by log of 6, and you get 6? 7? I don't know. I'm going to leave it as n minus 1. So this gives me 7, or that gives me 6? That gives us 7?
Why wouldn't we just take the logarithm 6 times the 200? Because I kept some calculators. Oh, okay.
Because we have to have a common base. So then n is equal to 8? N is equal to 8.
When we started, could we just distribute the -1 and the -6?
Yeah, and that's what I kind of said do, and then I kind of said we've got two negatives there. They're just going to cancel each other out. I kind of said that, but then I wanted to show you, but yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so now we just know the n value. We haven't answered the question yet. We just know the n value now. So now this said find the sum of that. So now we have to find the sum of the first 8 terms in this sequence. So now that's going to equal our first term, which is -1 times 1 minus the ratio. So 1 minus -6 to the 8th, all divided by 1 minus -6. So in the numerator, -1 times 1 minus -6 raised to the 8th. 1,679,615 divided by 7, which is 239,945. That's our final answer. And obviously, if you're talking about ACT questions, you're talking about ACT questions, SAT questions. These are perfect questions
We all change,
for that
right?
because it makes you do lots of things. You have to know, they give you the formulas more than likely, but you got to know how to apply them
We run our,
and get to them. Okay? Go ahead and give number 12 a try.
but I bet today they'll make us do one.
See what you get.
Which I know you guys
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
And then, we do like, practice. We do like practice circuits.
What are we
Trying to find the sum.
of how many?
We're trying to find this.
There it is. So we got our n value is 9.
Oh,
Okay. Log base 4 of 65,536 is n minus 1, so I add 1 to both sides. Look at our n values. Okay. It's not easy stuff by any stretch today. Any questions with this one? Or how about going about it? I get it, it's hard. But did everybody see the process that we did?
yes.
You're going to get practice. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about, which a couple people that have looked said, oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah,
Looks bad.
that's creepy.
It's kind of creepy. This symbol right here, it's really just another way to write the sum of. It's summation notation is what that's called. Okay, so this is summation notation. This and it's just a variable. This could be an I, this could be a Z, this could be a Q, it could be whatever. From 1 to 8. So what this is saying is we want to find the sum of this, negative 2 minus 5 and minus 8, the first 8 of them. So when n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, n is equal to 4, take all of those and add them up. Okay, so it essentially still becomes this formula. Okay, still the same exact formula. As long as this is a 1, we're in good shape. If this isn't a 1, can you still do it? Yes. Are we going to worry about it? Kind of. You're going to get one in your assignment that has it. But when you do your assignment 1, just find each of the terms, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So what do we need to know in order to do what in this case means we want to find the sum of the first 8 terms? Okay. Again, this summation notation and this right now mean the same exact thing. But we need to know our first term. Well, our first term is going to be when n is equal to 1. So if I make n equal to 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So my first term in this sequence is negative 2, which just so happens to be that right there. Okay. What's my ratio? What do we think the ratio is? Yeah, the ratio is negative 5. Doesn't that look an awful lot like that? Yeah. I mean, these two things look about the same, don't they? As they kind of are. Now, understand that this highlighted part right here doesn't always look like that. Okay? If it's in this form, it's easy to find A1 and your ratio, which is just what you guys are going to have to worry about. What you have is going to be in this form today. Okay? If it's not in this form, it becomes a little bit more difficult. You have to actually plug the numbers in to find what the ratio is. So you'd plug in 1. It very well could say, if I use a marker, you could say from n equals 1 to 7 of 3n. That's kind of not in this form, but you could find the first term by plugging 1 in there and get 3. You could plug 2 in there and get 6. And you could see, okay, maybe I can't do this. It's not a geometric sequence. So you could still do this, but it's not a geometric sequence necessarily anymore. So anyway, so if we want to do this now, so we want to find the sum of the first 8 terms in this sequence. We got to take our a of 1, which is negative 2, times 1 minus our ratio, so 1 minus negative 5 to the nth. So that's just an 8. All divided by 1 minus my ratio. Now, common error in this, these are your ratios. This is your n value. It happens. You'll put 1 minus 8 in there. Just be careful. Make sure that those two numbers are the same. Okay? So now, just like we've been doing in the calculators. So negative 2, clear. Negative 2 to the 1 minus negative 5 raised to the 8th. Negative 2 times 1 minus negative 5 raised to the 8th. You could, yes. So it was just asked up here, couldn't you just figure it all out and add them together? Yes, you could. So if I just wanted to find the first term, the second term, third term, yes, you could.
Okay. That's like what
Yeah. I got 781,248 for that, all divided by 6. So this is 130,208. Okay. So in a sense, you're given everything you need when it's in this summation notation. Okay? Your first value is going to be what's out front here. That's going to be your ratio. Your n value is going to be the top of that summation piece. Okay. Did everybody get 13208?
Yep.
That did it? Okay, do we need to do another one or are we okay?
Nope.
Okay, so we're not going to do this one, but just so everybody sees it and think about it for just a second. So we're going to find the S of 7. What's my first term in this? 1. First term in this is 1. Because if I substitute 1 in there, 1 minus 1 is 0. Negative 4 to the 0 is 1. So my first term in this is just 1. My ratio in here is negative 4. And then just plug them in. Okay? So there's step 2. Now let's do step 3. Now we're going to give, it says determine the number of terms n in each geometric series. So now we're given the S of n value. And we're given the series, or given the series, I guess. We need to find our n value. Well, if we look at our formula is S of n, which we know. We know the S of n value. We know that S of n value is negative 1,093. That has to equal my first value, A of 1. What's my A of 1? Negative 1. Times 1 minus my ratio. What's my ratio? 3. The ratio is 3. How do you get from 1 to negative 3? You multiply by 3. How do you get from negative 3 to negative 9? You multiply by 3. So it's going to be 1 minus 3 to the n, all divided by 1 minus 3. Now notice I only have one unknown, and that's a good thing. Now we just have to kind of start simplifying. So I'll kind of work this one out the long way. So that's negative 1 times 1 minus 3 to the n, all over negative 2. Multiply both sides by negative 2. That gives us 1. It's 2,186. Negative, positive, equals negative 1 times 1 minus 3 to the n. Good so far? Now I've got this negative, so I'm going to divide by a negative or just switch signs. So we've got negative 2,186 is equal to 1 minus 3n. And again, this is negative. So essentially we're dividing everything by negative 1. I have to isolate my exponential. So that means I have to subtract 1. So we subtract 1 from both sides. Negative 2,187 equals negative 3 to the nth power. We don't want our exponent to be negative. So again, we're dividing by negative 1. So 2,187 is equal to 3 to the n. Logarithmic form. Log base. What? 3 of?
2,187.
That's going to equal our n value.
Whoa.
Change of base formula. The log of 2,187 divided by the log of 3. That's going to give us our n value. I think you get 7. So our n value is 7. So that's the sum of the first 7 terms of that sequence. Again, you're talking about ACT questions, you're talking about any of your higher level tests. It's another great question. Gets to prove a lot of things. Okay? Do number 16. Give you about 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 12 seconds to be exact.
So times negative. Wait.
It's not getting harder, you just have to think. It is. Yes. Through the roof. About 4 minutes. I'll put it up here too. Watching the Purdue game.
And Creighton, Wisconsin.
Creighton game's probably close to being done, isn't it?
Yeah.
At 1:30, there's going to be a lockdown drill.
Yeah.
So you guys just kind of go over in that area. You guys just kind of squish back that way. So just you can't see the windows. You can see the windows, you can't be there.
Can't see it.
Can't see
If
it.
you want to go to that back, turn around. Yes, you can.
I can't read out. This way. I can see.
Nine minutes.
Why at one? Let me get out. I'm gonna get out early.
What's my ratio? -5?
Yeah.
I have my essay. I have to write my essay online. I have to write my essay and I have to submit it into Purity. And people. I haven't even, it's an argument. Actually, that's what I'm going to say right now.
How many questions are on the homework?
I don't know. I think I know that.
Yes.
I don't even know it's an argument. I don't even know the topic. I don't even know it's an argumentative. It's a classroom. That's the one I know. It's in the class. No, it's an argument. Like it's like that's a comparison. Well, I already did that. I should just let's see that. Wait.
We're just trying to find N.
Did I do something wrong? Did I do something wrong? What'd you get? Yeah, that's what it is. It's 7. What did I do wrong?
Should I tell Wayne that I can't do here tomorrow?
I mentioned it too. Oh no, you're supposed to multiply by 6.
Oh, this should be minus. This should be +5, shouldn't it? My bad.
Did I do it wrong then?
Because it's minus -5, so that should have been 6, right? So 52084 times 6.
Oh, so it's +5.
It's 312,504. That look better?
Yes, that's the.
So 312503. Is that right? 312503.
I didn't do that. I skipped that.
This should have been 4, but no, it's not.
Actually, I don't know if I did that. I divided it by 4.
I have to divide that by 4, right?
Yeah.
Divided by 4.
Jeez, Mr. Enidson, you're making me feel wrong.
I'm just making sure you guys are paying attention. 781.26. So now subtract 1. 78125. Because this negative and negative is going to make that a positive, right? So the log of 71825 and 5. There we go. And is equal to 7. So be careful. You see I messed up because I just got ahead of myself. I just put -5 instead of -5. So then when I got down here, and how did I know I messed up? I didn't get a whole number down here. I had like 6.38 or something like that. So I knew there was an error somewhere. Your end value should be a nice whole number. Since mine wasn't a whole number, then I knew I messed up somewhere. It's just a matter of then going back and having you guys help me find it. Right?
Is tomorrow still the quiz?
No. You were late.
You were late. Questions other than is the quiz tomorrow? The answer is no. Those of you that didn't test because you were gone last week prior to us taking the test, your test is tomorrow. The rest of you, we have a plan.